What's going on, everyone? I'm Chris Baker.
And I'm Ty Backer.
Welcome to episode 94 of Behind the Tool Belt with TC Backer Construction.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. TC Backer. TC Backer.
How's everyone doing today? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in as normal. Today we got special guest Brad Whitlock from GAF. I think this is your second time on the show, so hopefully this time will be a little bit better, because last time we had a little bit of a chaotic moment. Our power went out and had to drag generators in, and it was a mess. But hopefully everyone's enjoying their week.
You made it work.
We made it work. That's what we do, man. We work better under pressure situations.
Totally do. Need to always throw a little pressure into the mix. But yeah, that was interesting. So we felt like we needed to bring you back so you could have like a little redemption show.
Absolutely.
We felt bad, but you hung right in there too, and that was an awkward evening to start off with because of the way that we didn't Zoom you in like we.
I think it was a Facebook video messenger or something like that.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and then we airdropped you to the TV or something like that. Like something weird was going on. But we pulled it off. We ended up losing power. We pulled the generators out, like you said, which we do keep the generator pretty handy now in case anything does go down like that.
We learned from that one, man.
Right.
It's not it firing up out there now.
No.
Lawnmower guys. It did sound like a generator though. But yeah, it was all good stuff. We got through it, and you stayed right there with us. You couldn't even see us, could you?
Probably most of it, no.
Yeah.
Most of it. On and off. You kept coming in, I could see a little bit. Like you had one phone going, and I could see that coming from your phone over my phone.
Right.
I'm like, what was that?
Right.
And then the lights, you were going around with the flashlights and trying to frantically put stuff together. And
It was
so you
chaotic.
could see us when we were
yeah, I could see it when you were all like freaking out.
Walking
Okay,
around
get that
to the
hooked
shop
up.
and flashlight. And
Exactly.
Yeah, it was good. It was a learning lesson. Each show, I think we learned something new every night, and then we've been asking questions, and I think we learned a lot. 2 weeks ago, when we were down in Florida at RoofCon, we actually got to see how a couple different people set up their podcast, and things like that. And then we actually have a gentleman who works for us full time, Javier, that is familiar with audio and video stuff, and has a full-time job. Actually, he doesn't work for us full-time, only when he comes to the States. He comes to the States for a few months and then he goes back home. But his full-time job is what? Like works for a news.
Yeah, he does like video production for like media groups and everything down in Belize. So he's really, really familiar with everything, and definitely an ace in the hole.
Right.
Come a long way, man. I'm telling you, a long way.
Yeah. Like Todd said, man, we try to learn every week. Upgrade stuff and figure out little tweaks, and it keeps it fun.
It does.
I mean, it keeps it fun and fresh, and
it does. We know we're not perfect at it, but we're not going to know until we do it. You know what I mean? We can sit around and talk about it, but we gain the courage and do it every week, week in, week out, and here we are on episode 94. We're coming up on our 100th episode, which will be the day before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So we're going to have a really good show then, because of we're going to have we're hosting the 21 Turkey Salute.
Yep.
So that's all going to be happening all at the same time. So it's and somebody said that didn't happen by chance. Like that was meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
definitely
The 100th episode.
We
on the
didn't plan
24th.
that 94
Yeah.
episodes ago that was going to land on.
I had written that
second
down.
annual.
I was like, I want to be on the 24th of November, and I realized, well, that's your turkey. There was like, wow,
Yeah.
did you guys figure that out? I mean, that was
No,
No.
it's just
meant to be. Sometimes,
yeah,
right?
man,
For sure.
Yeah,
It
sometimes
was
things
definitely meant to
happen
be.
in this world that are unexplainable, man, and that's
Exactly.
just one of those things. And
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's an awesome thing.
That's kind of how I got to be where I'm at here with GAF, kind of by accident,
Right.
Right on.
Because I was tired of traveling 8-10 states, and I came home. My daughter was like just a few months old, and I
Right.
said to Jen, I came home through Detroit Airport, through the yucky snow in the middle of the winter. I said, I got to find something else because
Right.
this traveling's driving me crazy, and I don't want to be the guy that's not home knowing his kids.
Right.
And it was like 2 weeks later, I ended up getting get a phone call from a headhunter who was looking to fill a position, and I was like, hey, see where this goes. So sometimes things happen for a reason, you know.
Yep.
I've been here now just about almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
We were
no,
talking
no,
about it.
by all means.
That was
No,
one of
this
the
shows
strangest.
this shows about you, for you. You know, we've been partners, and I was thinking a couple minutes before the show, like we've known each other a long time.
Oh my goodness gracious, yeah.
Like you've watched me grow up through.
Now you make me feel like an old man.
No, well, and you were young, so I
Yeah.
mean, we've watched each other grow up. You know, through you
Yeah.
know our careers and through the industry and stuff like that. So that's pretty nifty. There may have been some times where we had lost touch with each other due to one reason or another. But we've known each other. Christ, man, I'm trying to think. Man, I bet I was 23 years old when I first met you. 23
Probably.
or 27,
Yeah.
something like that. So, at least 15 years. At least 15 years that we've known each other, and you've worked for GAF that entire time that I knew you. At that time when I first met you, I worked for my brother-in-law, and that's kind of where I got my start in this industry. I came from, my dad was a good carpenter. His dad and brothers were all good carpenters, but I didn't. So I could read a tape measure, I could swing a hammer because of my dad, but my first introduction to where we're at today is my brother-in-law and his best friend started a siding business, and they needed help. And at that time, I lived with my brother-in-law and my sister at that time.
Yeah. Huh.
I had moved up here from York, and my first job doing this, I was cutting siding. And there was a lot of knuckleheads on the job site back then too, but that was old school stuff.
Yeah, man.
I mean, real old school stuff where, like, if I cut something wrong, they were throwing it back at me 3 stories down. You know what I mean? Until
Oh,
I
yeah.
got it right. They were screaming numbers at me and stuff like that. But anyhow, we've known each other for a long time. I'd always admired what you did. It's very impressive. You work for the largest, shingle manufacturer in the country, if not the world.
Oh, it is now. We are the largest in the world now with the growth through Standard Industries and where they've come. And when I started, I think, GAF I was very fortunate to get in kind of when they were evolving into a sales organization, and they were really starting to, come of their own. And that's kind of where the growth really started. And, I think when I started, they were like $1 billion company, and then
Right.
like a few years later, at $3 billion. And I mean, it's
Wow.
gone from there. It's been an interesting, fun ride and
Yeah.
sometimes it's
Right.
a couple years. I remember when we've been sold out before and having to keep track of distributors' purchase orders on a legal pad,
Wow.
on the payphones, then on one over here. Hey, you're gonna want that truck of charcoal. It's 3 months. You got it for 6 months. Ordered it out ago. You want it or not? No. I'm choking on charcoal. Well,
Wow.
so there's been fun times and there's been not so fun times. But this
Absolutely.
whole industry, the building industry as a whole, has just changed so dramatically. It was telling Chris, I'm looking over here and I was admiring the Evolved Stone because I saw when that started to come out. I mean, I go way back when I got into this business in the building products end of it and was working for a wholesaler doing, Anderson windows and, skylights and doors and all kinds of stuff. And I remember meeting, it was Andy Brennison, who's now promoting the Evolved Stone, Profitable Partnering. I guess that's the same name of the company. But so, have a lot of relationships or a lot of people that, it's funny, people get out of it for a while and then they come back. But it's a great business to be in.
It is.
Shoot, I remember we first had to go on business calls. You had to wear a suit and tie and a sport coat. I
Wow.
mean, and then that kind of changed overnight. And it was
Right.
Right.
do without the sport coat, but you got to wear that tie. You know, it's like,
Right.
and then that changed, and so yeah, it's really changed in the companies that have come and gone, and the distributors that have come and gone. Big, the Anderson window distributors used to be basically Morgan and Anderson, and Adam.
Yeah.
Now it's Anderson Logistics. So
Wow.
it's
Right.
yeah.
One of the things that kind of impresses me about GAF, with number one, them being the biggest shingle manufacturer in the industry, one of the things that I like the most about them is the customer support that we get as contractors. The being able to pick up my phone at any time and call and get an answer. And even if I can't get an answer right there, I know someone's going to
Yep.
call me back with an answer. And I'm sure with being as large of a market as you guys have, just being able to keep up with that and maintain that good customer service is, that's impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, I've had my same phone number for 30-some years, and it's funny because it's a very unique phone number. I won't give it out here right now.
Right.
But I pretty much have my phone on all the time, and if somebody calls me, I'm going to answer, because I'd rather answer a question then instead of try to get back to them a couple days later.
Right.
Right.
My wife gets a little frustrated with that sometimes. I know I take my laptop with me, and I'm glad I did, because
Right.
if you don't, you're dealing with something when you get back, and
Right.
give me a lot of grief for taking business on a vacation, but then one time she dropped my suitcase and broke the screen of the laptop. But I still take it with me, but I'm a little more guarded with it.
We can all attest to that one.
Oh, yeah.
We all understand that one, taking the laptop
Well,
with you.
think about you guys. Ty, how often how often you get to be able to turn your phone off and not answer it?
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't matter where we're at or what part of the country or state or
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think one of the reasons why I do that is because I don't like to clean up the mess when I get back. And I try to lead by example. I don't really care necessarily if somebody takes off, and if they need to take a vacation or a couple personal days or anything like that. Like, I
Yeah.
get it. Family
Yeah.
issues come up, medical issues come up, health issues come up, the dog dies. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
So, if something happens in my world, I still want to be available even if I'm not there. You know what I mean? So I try to lead by example. So, if, like today, I had one of our coworkers texted me, hey, I got to leave early and I'm probably going to show up late. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I know I'll still be able to get a hold of them
Sure.
if we need to. Somebody else, Sam, which I didn't respond to her, so if she's listening, she's our first getting into this tuition payback thing.
Oh, wow.
So she's going to school for accounting and things like that, and,
Yeah.
and we're covering the cost for her. And she had asked if she could stay home and work from home tomorrow,
Yeah.
because we're totally apt to working from home now, especially over the
Exactly.
past 16 months.
Yeah.
So she's got some things with school. She also has to get caught up on it and get ready for some testing and stuff like that. So it's like, as long as I know we can get a hold of you and you're
Yeah.
still being
Right.
productive on things that you're, what your responsibilities are. And that's the team we have too, knowing
Right.
that I can trust that they can do that and that they're responsible enough to do that. As long as we're all available, it doesn't really matter where we're at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you
You know?
can be just about
Right.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as you're
Right.
accessible and you're
The greatness of
answering your
technology
calls
today,
and
man.
Yeah.
sending-
And just to touch on your point there, I think a lot of that has to do with the example that is set as a leader. You know what I mean? If Ty was the type of leader that, constantly went away on the summer times and we couldn't ever get a hold of him, maybe people wouldn't be as prone to volunteer to do that while they're away. You know what I mean? But we just have a good team that, had a good example set for them, and it's business as usual no matter where you are. So it definitely works, man. And I can definitely attest to the team always being available no matter what time. If we
Yeah.
need someone, they're available.
Right.
And like Ty said, man, stuff happens.
Yeah,
Stuff
things
comes
come up,
and
especially with if nowadays, like, if you're feeling sick, the responsible thing to do is, let us know.
Yeah,
Let
exactly.
us know, and
Don't try to cover it up and
Yeah.
be like come into the office and find out that you're really sick.
right,
and-
right. And the way we've set it up, everyone's got a laptop now,
Yeah.
if not a desktop, set up at their home, where we can all work remote. We've really have made things automated. I mean, like, wow,
Yeah.
automated in such a short period of time. I mean, it's something we've always wanted to do. I really feel like with COVID, it helped excel that process
Yep.
a lot. And, and I don't think we're ever going to go back or steer from it.
No, we'd be foolish.
Now.
Can you remember way back when I traveled 8-10 states, I used to have, of course, the bag phone, right? You had the car, then the phone in
Yeah.
the car, and mounted, and the phone bills were like through the roof. Every $800 or so a month, because if you traveled outside of your states, they get you with the roaming fees.
Roaming,
Right.
yep.
It was crazy.
Talking after 9 o'clock so you don't use your minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
Right.
beepers.
Yes.
Remember the pagers? That was, I don't know
Yes.
if you remember those. It
Yep.
was
Yes.
like, for a while they tried, and when they first, gosh, I don't even remember what year it was, but GAF finally had our sales group. They gave there was the BlackBerry to a couple of guys, and then they gave the iPhone to a couple, and then, actually, we started out with the BlackBerries first, because that was the,
That was the thing
one-
back then,
Yeah,
man.
that was the one that everybody wanted. That's
Yes.
the BlackBerry, and then,
Yep.
man.
Then
gotta
iPhone came out.
Man, we seem to be all addicted to the iPhones or the phones
Yeah.
nowadays.
Well, the
Yes.
Blackberries were the first ones that came out that you could actually, they were already pre-set up out of the box that they would work in other countries and be able to do that, because a lot of the phone manufacturers, you weren't able to do that. They didn't have
Yeah.
the capabilities of picking up the towers and stuff in other countries. So
Right.
Blackberries were the world phone.
Oh, I
is
think
what-
wasn't
is what
that
they
the one
called
of the Obama likes the BlackBerry because it's encrypted as the best encryption or something. I guess he's probably the last one to still use it. I guess you probably could still get them.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I haven't seen a BlackBerry, and I can't tell
I
you.
know,
what
it's
it
been
was.
a long time since I've seen a BlackBerry too, but I remember
No
when
doubt.
it came out, it was like the first one with a keypad. You know what I mean? It,
Yep.
it had a keypad, and then it even had a cursor.
Yep.
I don't know if all of them did,
Yeah, it
but I
had a
remember.
scrolling
Yeah.
ball on it.
Yeah, it had like a scrolling ball on it, and I dug it. I thought, oh wow, that
Yep.
I had arrived when I finally was able to afford a BlackBerry.
Yeah, man. Roll around with one of them and you
Yeah.
think you're hot stuff.
Yeah.
You got the scroller on your phone.
My dad was God bless him, was a builder, and he had so many different things. He was into hobbies and all kinds of stuff. It was funny because he'd go through these 6 to 8 month or 12-month spurts of a new different hobby, and he was always into. But one of the ones he was into ham radio. So before cell phones came out, you could actually call a phone on your ham radio. Now that was the coolest thing, right? To be able to call somebody from a ham radio in your car,
Right.
And then you remember, of course, then we all eventually got the flip phones. That
Yep.
I was
Yep.
down in Cape May, New Jersey, with a good buddy of mine. I'm out in his backyard. I'm like, hey, watch this, Sean. I can actually check the weather, and it was like
Yep.
it would spin and spin and spin. It's going to be 85 and sunny today.
Right.
How exciting was that?
Yeah.
Now it's like
Yeah,
you
man.
feel like a ball and chain. You can't get rid of these damn things.
No, man. It's very few things will I turn around and go back home when I forget them, and my cell phone is one of them.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
I will not go anywhere without that thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember the one weekend you said that you dropped your phone in the water down in the ocean. I couldn't imagine. I mean, as much as your phone rings, I could not imagine
Yeah.
the sweat that was pouring out of your
Yeah.
head while
We didn't stay on the water.
the
very
18
long.
hours
No.
that you went without a phone.
Yeah,
Well-
yeah.
Hey, they've come a long way too in getting those things, back up and running. You know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
my wife it's kind of ironic is that I mentioned to her, because I was out mowing around the yard with, ear pods in or whatever the heck you call them, and ends up, all of a sudden I lost the music, and I'm like, "Ooh." So here, the phone had dropped out of the cup holder. So I go, oh my gosh, if I ran over this thing, but I could still hear the music that was getting better. So I eventually found it.
Yeah.
And I said to my son and my wife, I said, don't put your cell phones in the cup holders, because
Yeah.
my son's, I never do that. I always put them in my pocket, and they always fall out. Jen says, I do it all the time. I never have a problem. 2 days later, guess what happens? You need to call my dad's phone because she shredded that thing. I
Yeah.
took it
Oh,
into
man.
the Sprint store.
I bet.
It wasn't. That was we use Verizon for work, and Sprint. I mean, they're T-Mobile. I don't
Yeah.
know why or how that whole thing all
Right.
came about.
Yeah.
But they were on it like right away. They ended up hooking me up, and I had to upgrade for a phone, and it was
Nice.
it
Perfect.
was like in an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate when I'm like the tech guy, and I'm not technologically advanced like Victor is. I mean, so
Yeah.
when a phone problem happens, I'm like, I told you I don't want to have to deal
Right.
with this because it's no fun. But,
Right. Yeah. No, and thank God for iCloud backup.
oh, no
You know
doubt.
what I mean?
Right.
Without
It
that,
makes it so much
remember
easier when you get a new
there
phone.
wasn't like, or if there was, but it just seemed like you'd lose your pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh gosh, yes.
You'd lose your text messages up until maybe 3 years ago,
Right.
if that. I know where I had to get a new phone, and I don't always save my pictures that are in my text messages.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't get your text messages back. And I remember the time before that where I couldn't get all my photos just that were in my photo album. I couldn't receive them back either. But it seems like now everything, all of your text messages, all of your recent and old emails come over, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
You might get
sure.
down blasted with 10,000 emails, but I'm just grateful that I'm able to get everything back on there as long as you can remember all your passwords.
We had to go in. Yeah, exactly. That's the other problem. I have this little 5x8 box that has all written on a 3x5 cards because you never know if you're going to lose. And you need a password for everything and reset every 3 months. And but I used to put all the kids and my wife's and mine. I download all the pictures from our phone onto the computer, which is. Still, then you get a new computer and then they change everything over. But you don't have to do that now. But, there's still a ton of pictures. I come across ones that I downloaded for my dad. That I'm like,
completely forgot about.
Totally forgot about. And I got a thing for Christmas for Jen last year, and I haven't used it yet. But it's like a little thumb drive, and they had different. And you can put it on your computer, and it'll scan everything. It'll pull all the photos out and delete all the duplicates.
Awesome.
So, and it'll organize them by, now, if you've moved computer to computer, it probably changes the dates.
Right.
But I haven't done that yet, but if I find it, I misplaced it, I think, somewhere. Might buy another one. But it'll glean through that computer, and I had to go looking for some old photos the other week, and forgot how many daggone pictures that we've downloaded in the computer because you didn't have iCloud.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Thank goodness for iCloud. So let's get on let's talk about some shingles or something here.
Yeah.
So give us the scoop. What is there anything new in the pipeline or?
There's a lot of things new in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Anything that you can talk about right now?
I'm not totally 100%, but there's some things that'll be, evolving into next year. Looking at the sign that says Evolve Stone.
Okay.
There are a couple of things that have come out real recently that are public. Is that we just have acquired Grace, so GAF or Standard Industries. We got it was just GAF that was known as their parent company was Building Materials Corporation of America, and then you basically had the Granule ISP, which was the granule division and all the chemicals and stuff like that. Then you had GAF, which is the roofing and all the components and accessories, and you had some commercial under that GAF, and so you basically had the Building Materials Corporation of America, and then you had two underneath that. Well, now with the evolution of which is now Standard Industries, because they've purchased a lot of European companies. We're no longer Building Materials Corporation of America. They went back to when we used to be. Our name was way back in like 1886. It was the Standard American Paint Company. So we're now Standard Industries. And underneath Standard is now the division. So they've separated out GAF, of course, as GAF Energy now. They were kind of under us a little bit. So they're separate. We've just recently announced, so the Grace is going to fall under that. And just today that we had a town hall meeting with the owners, and they announced, which has been out there, that we now have FT Synthetics, which is one of the largest and probably the premier manufacturer of synthetic underlayments.
Awesome.
Nice.
So we're going to have hopefully some great opportunities with that'll come out. Some of the things that our competitors aren't doing with what they have that they should be doing that we're already doing, and that'll evolve into some unique things for that. GAF Commercial was separated out. So there's a lot of, there's tremendous amount of growth that keeps going on with, where our parent company Standard is headed.
Yeah.
Right.
They've got a whole new brand.
Now, what's Grace? What was that? What did they
Grace
do?
is I believe, I forget where in Maryland that the corporate office is, but there's a couple of divisions under Grace, and we bought the chemical division. So it's kind of like you look back at where GAF and Standard, American Paint got their startup way back with Ruberoid and chemicals and all that. So, it's I imagine it was a great acquisition and kind of get them back into the chemical business. They spun off a lot of the components that didn't have, my gosh, we over the years have done skylights for a while. We've done, we did furniture, carpet, office furniture. Just all kinds of stuff. But, they basically now with all these acquisitions and where they're, it's roofing is our thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And of course, that's why solar with GAF Energy
Yeah.
makes so much sense
Of course.
for GAF. Unlike Tesla,
Yeah.
that they're basically kind of a little bit out there in what they do and the technologies they get involved in. My
Yeah.
goodness gracious, wasn't Shatner? Didn't he get shut off in one of Elon's? Was that today or yesterday? That
I think so.
I'm not sure. I didn't
yeah,
see
I guess
it.
he was. I don't know. I guess he made it, or we would have heard it all over the news. But
Yeah.
so they're basically focused only on roofing and chemicals now with Grace.
Yeah. So when you say chemicals, you mean like adhesives and stuff
All
like that?
kinds of, they're going to continue to operate as their own division.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say that I'm not concerned about it, but unless it's something that's going to be under us as far as what we're going to be doing.
Right.
Even like FT Synthetics is kind of be run on their own.
Yeah.
But it'll be, obviously it'll supplement what the components that we are currently offering.
Yeah.
And make them, better products, hopefully, eventually, and some unique nuances that we can't really talk about yet that
Yeah,
hopefully
right.
will
No.
be brought out in what's, in the codes that we satisfy that some of our competitors don't.
Awesome.
Yeah. I can't imagine you guys getting more into the chemical game with like adhesions and stuff, because the adhesion strips on those HTZs, man, are serious.
We were just talking
There's
about
no
that today.
doubt about it.
We were just talking
They
about
are
that today.
serious. My
For our
guy
service
was,
guys,
Gio was just up there complaining about the HTZs. Actually complaining. I mean, it's a good complaint,
That's
but
the only complaint that we get. I mean,
we,
honestly.
Yeah.
because we'll put a roof on, and then usually like a week or two later, we go back and send our in-house guys out to install pipe boots, and you got to break that adhesion strip, and it's like, man.
Yeah, that's one of the
Even in
things.
the
I know there's
wintertime,
been a-
Brad, it's like you can't get
yeah.
these things apart, man.
Well, because of COVID, you hate to say that, we have a whole marketing thing that's kind of out there right now that we're not really pushing yet, and we probably will once we're not in a sold out situation and we can't really try to grow our business. But,
Yeah.
there's a lot of, I hate to even say that, no, we really can't grow our business, but when you're sold out, I mean, my goodness gracious, you know how fun it's
Yeah.
been for everything.
Right.
We were
Yeah.
looking at the fiberboard outside, and that stuff's like gold right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the one thing that we get. People say now with the HDZ, we love it, and it seals so fast even in cold weather. And we had a marketing thing going on that maybe we'll see more about it and hear more about it. That was going to be launched in the last couple of years or last year about this, with the way that this, with this area here where the common bond is, and then of course they basically crimp shingle
Yep.
together. The idea behind that versus everybody else is the one thing that was probably the most common issue in the business is that you had everybody making a shingle that had this area right here that was the common bond.
Yep.
So it was basically where these were laminated together, and there was adhesives here and then adhesives right here where the two pieces came together, that laminated portion onto this.
Yep.
And then if you didn't nail in the nail line, this shim could have fall out. Now we were pretty good for all these years, but
Yeah.
8, 10, 12 years later, if those guys high nailed,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff over the years. I mean, not to ramble on like
Yeah,
I am, but
no.
I actually had a guy out in the middle of nowhere up in northwestern Pennsylvania that had a claim, and I drove all the way out because this is one of his biggest builders, and this guy's been hounding him because he had shingles that were on a dormer that were falling apart. Well,
Yeah.
got all the way out there, like a 3.5 hour drive, and the guy, he says, well, he's not there, he's at a HUD meeting or something silly.
Yeah.
How would you not know? This guy had to have known, so I had to come back, and then I get a call from the regional manager that you got to come back out, give it I know, I apologize, he stood you up, and
Yeah.
so we get out there, and he goes, we take the shingles that are, I said, well, wait a minute, let me ask you a question. I said, what is these? I've never seen anybody install shingles like this before. These are way high nailed. I mean, what were you doing with this? And he said, well, that's where we're laying the bottom of the shingle on. So they were, I kid you not, they were putting every shingle that they've ever done, they were using the nail line to line up the bottom of the shingle.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I mean, of course they're going to come apart.
Right.
Yeah.
But so with this, eventually, if shingles had been high nailed or they didn't catch this area here with the nail,
Right.
this shim, we call it, could slide out because of the sun and if it's on a steeper pitch. Well, there's a lot of people out there have variations of, nail lines but we're the only ones that have basically taken, and we crimp it, kind of like on a
Right.
plastic knife, a plastic toy or something in that
Yeah.
clamshell.
Yep.
So we actually weld these two pieces together, and we're now allowing you to nail on or between these lines.
Right.
So this shim is actually basically welded together or riveted at the plant.
Right.
Fact-
So you're not relying on the nail installation to hold that shingle together every
No,
time anymore.
not at all.
Like you were before.
Correct.
Right.
So we're so confident that that's going to hold up. But
Yeah.
one of the things that evolved over all of that is
Mm-hmm.
that so we found that by taking the granule off in this area here, and then you have the next shingle that seals down on top of that, that it's now an asphalt adhesive, and there's a special secret sauce in our adhesive, which
Yeah.
and I know a little bit about it, but there's not too many people that know what's in
Yeah.
that keeps it so aggressive.
Of
Right.
course.
And why it's almost, I mean, you can almost get it break that loose.
Yeah.
And so that adhesive is basically sealing directly to the asphalt adhesive to asphalt shingle,
Yep.
and that welds together. That's a
Yeah.
monolithic
Yeah.
bond right there at those 2 points.
Yeah,
So
it
Yeah.
we're
almost
gonna-
makes that one, instead of it, being glued together, and almost joins it together, almost like a
Exactly.
heat weld would
Right.
on a TPO roof or something like that. It's almost melting it together.
Well, when we
Got it.
first were told about this and what they were doing and how they were, testing it and doing the R&D and what was going to go on, we all kind of like, you got to be crazy.
Yeah.
And at that point, the initial talk was, as it was announced at a sales meeting prior to a couple of years later, when it finally came out, was that as an installer, you only needed 2 nails, one at each end to hold that on the hold the shingle on the roof while you're installing the rest of the shingles because it was going to seal so tight.
Yeah.
You only needed 2 nails. Then they went to 3, and all the packaging was done with the intent of 3-nail application, and then eventually, I don't know where the hiccups came in, attorneys and the codes and all that they went to the 4 nails.
Yeah.
So at some point, I myself, and I think we're going to see that it goes back to what they wanted originally at some point. But as far as the ceiling goes,
Yeah.
we're going to start marketing the fact that at 40 degrees and rising, that basically you'll seal in about 2.4 hours.
Wow.
Which is pretty
impressive, man.
Pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
But then you'll get the people that are not happy and say, like, the problem is it seals too tight. But
Yeah.
we're working on that, issue because it comes up. It comes up pretty
Yeah.
pretty often.
I don't really know why you would complain about something like that. I mean, other than, a service guy that, on new construction that has to go back in and install roof boots. I mean, other than that situation there,
Right.
why would you complain that the shingles seal too tight? What,
Yeah.
I can't even think of one thing.
Well,
Why?
I do know, in my world, we get complaints a lot of times from the siding people, when they're putting their pump jacks up.
Okay.
Traditionally, we always want the siding guys to lift the shingle up and nail
Yeah,
the pump
of
jacks
course.
underneath.
Yeah,
well,
good point.
Once we started putting HDZs in, you won't believe the number of shingles I got to replace because they're like, we can't get them apart, so they just
Exactly.
go right down through the shingle. So, but I mean, that's a problem that I would rather have than have a problem of constant blow-offs
Oh,
and
no doubt about
and
it.
that kind of stuff where that could cause interior damage to homeowners and that kind of stuff. So I'll take that problem any day.
Yeah,
the-
seriously.
The advances that I've seen within the company, with the lifetime upgrade, that was kind of a shocker. We all
Right.
thought that, we were into sales, you're like, okay, here's a grand opening and you're all done. It's 15 minutes now. We're wrapping it up. You all
Right.
got to be back at 6 o'clock because we're
Right.
a major industry announcement. And they're like, are we going public? What's going on? What's happening? What's this all about?
Yeah,
I
right.
think you're all everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
And that's when they came out with that whole,
Right.
lifetime upgrade.
Right.
So,
See, and that's a good point that you brought up. GAF isn't a publicly owned company.
No.
It's private.
Privately owned. We're actually owned by basically, one family, we say. Ronnie Heyman. It was Sam who was the owner. And Sam has passed away, deceased, and pretty much Ronnie and the two, the co-COOs, the Davids, the son-in-laws, that
Yeah.
are running the company.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
And it's kind of I'm humbled by how gracious that Mrs. Heyman is, that Ronnie Heyman is, because there's a lot of other women out there that like to be, I'm the most, the wealthiest woman in the, they're not like that. I mean, Forbes article that came out not too long ago with the Davids on it and talking mostly about GAF Energy was
Yeah.
the first
I read
real
that.
article out there that they've ever kind of tooted their own horn, which I guess they probably felt that, our kids are younger and they need to know who the heck we are.
Yeah.
Or we've got a lot of great things out there that we want people to know.
Right.
But Ronnie, I've been in a number of sales. She's basically, Sam would come and Ronnie would come to every single one after he passed away, and she actually thrives on it, as she says.
Right.
I'm sure she does because she's there and she's in a lot of all the meetings. she'll go around to the different rooms.
Yeah.
And people will come up and like bring a bottle of water up to her and be like, "Here, Mrs. Heyman." She's like, "Oh dear, thank you so much, thank you." Oh, and she's like so gracious. And
Yeah.
and I remember one time I was going up in an elevator with one of my partners, and he was like, kind of like, "Oh no, you're in the elevator with the owner of the company, holy mackerel." And he's like, "Ronnie, what do you think of Brad's hair? It's looking a little long, isn't it?" She's like, "I think he looks kind of sexy with long hair like that." And I was like, "Okay, all right, Jeff." And then another time I was running back. We had a 15-minute break. My cell phone was about out of battery, and I forgot my charger and didn't have the backup. So I'm running back to the room, and the elevator doors are coming to a close, and I put my hand in, and they open up, and there's Ronnie pushing the button. She goes, "Oh, I thought I pushed the wrong button. I thought I'd take your arm off." Not the point of that is that she could be staying at some off-site villa, probably, but she's not. She's staying in the hotel in the same type
Right.
of room that I am.
You wouldn't even know.
And you wouldn't
Yeah.
even know it. And I remember one of the sales meetings that she always likes to tell a joke, and there was one where it's this probably 10-minute joke about how this father's going to turn his hardware store over to his son, but he wants to watch how things go, and he watch how he progresses in the sales process. And he says, "Son, I got to tell you," he said, "I'm ready to turn this business over to you." He says, "You were phenomenal." He says, "I mean, it's just amazing. You got this guy that," he said, "you get him," he goes, "comes in for a fishing rod, he comes in for bait, you sell him the rod, you sell him the reel, the new line. You can't just go out without the proper lures. You got to have those too, and your minnow bucket, all the way up to the boat. I mean, you sold him a daggone boat and a trailer and a motor. I can't even believe it." And he goes, "Well, Dad, you don't even know half the story." I said, "Well, what's the story?" "Well, he actually came in he's looking for some tampons." And I said, "Oh, you're going to have a long vacation." And so it's like,
Right.
she tells that joke in front of a whole group of, how many hundreds of people. And it's just like, so we're very, very fortunate with where that company has put us in the driver's seat when it comes to the industry that we're in. And it just keeps
Right.
evolving.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so it sounds like there's a great culture that you guys have. What would you say that besides the ownership, what besides that makes it a great company to work for?
Oh, there's truly so many reasons. I mean, I've been there 20 years. I know people would say, "Yeah, put in 7 years," and usually it's time to get stagnant. You got to keep moving on. But I mean, management all the way up to the top of just being very embracing and very concerned. They always reach out to us as to what improvements. I mean, I'm on some committees of things that I'm amazed at how long and how much thought that they put into things that could evolve into something in 10, 15 years down the road.
Right.
And some of these guys from corporate are in these meetings, the hours, 3-4 times a week to come up with a new concept or something. And and they actually, they listen to what we say. It wasn't always like that. I mean, I've seen that evolve to the point where they reach out regularly, and there's a lot of surveys that we can fill out, and comments that we can make, and things to hopefully the idea is to like you've learned. It's all about trying to get the company
and
in a
that's
better
kind of
place.
why I asked, because there was the old school way of running a business, but now there's kind of like this. I don't even know what you call it. It's Simon Sinek came out with a book a couple years ago, Leaders Eat Last. Okay, and it seems like a lot of companies are going that direction. You know what I mean? At least for me, the first time that I read it, I think I've read it 3 times already. I kind of have used it as a roadmap on how to treat other people, how to be a good leader, how to hold myself accountable. And I've really taken a lot of initiative to try to better myself, to be a better person. In turn, that way it coincides with me being a better leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
100%. Sure I do.
it's surprising to see how many companies haven't gone that direction.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that with some different leaders for other companies that we work for. But I listen to this podcast every Tuesday night, and the way this guy last night was explaining it, leaders are coaches. Okay, it's like a sports team. A business is like a sports team. Okay? So us as leaders, we're coaches, okay, and we're coaching our teammates or the portion of the team. Of
course.
You know, you have your offense, you have your defense, and you have your other coaches that are helping you coach the team. So and they should at some point be a reflection. And I look at Baker when Baker first started working here. I see myself in him now today. You know, you've been here, what, coming up on 4 years now?
Coming up on 4 years,
Coming
yeah.
up on 4 years now. I see a lot, you know, and Vic. Vic has known me outside of work, and, you know, we have rubbed off on each other over the years and stuff, and I know he's read the book Leaders Eat Last, too, so he's drinking what Kool-Aid I'm drinking, okay? And whether if he knows it or not without reading
Yeah.
that book, he's drinking that Kool-Aid, too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which... Hint, you should
Yeah,
probably
exactly. Read the book.
Yeah.
I wrote that down, so
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, it's great book, great book. Okay, so they're talking about, you know, having like this thing where, you know, the coaches are, you know, doing a survey of the people that work below them. Okay, we all know that. Like we should
Sure.
hold a review, like a review. But then they were also talking about having his team have a review on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how humbling would that be?
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But who would have thought about something like that 10 years ago? Like
Exactly.
you run it with an iron fist.
Management by threat.
Yep,
You know?
you put
Yeah.
the fear of God in them.
Yeah.
You know, take no shit. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the way that I was brought up. You know how things are so different now, where there's empathy, and we talk about this all the time, and not to react so quickly. There was a situation that came up the other day, and it was like I kept telling myself, "You need to think about this. You need to think about this. You need to say something. Don't say something stupid."
Yeah.
And literally in that conversation, I was like, "This conversation isn't over yet. I need some more time to
Yeah.
think about
Yeah.
it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Sure.
said what I had to say, and I got my point across, but I really wasn't mean about it. And I made the call back later, and I let them know how I felt, how it made me feel.
Yeah.
My feelings. Oh God, let's
Yeah,
talk about
well,
feelings
right.
now.
Right.
You know, but it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and how things are just so different. So, I guess my question was, it turned into me rambling on there a little bit. Have you seen that turn?
Well, I'd say it's always been part of our culture to a certain degree, but over the last 10 so years, yeah, that's definitely, you know, there's more involvement from everybody all the way down to, you know,
Right.
us, the bottom,
Right,
salesmen.
right. Well,
I mean,
you got to get that information. You got to listen to what those people are saying down there.
Yeah.
It's not my way or the highway
Oh, yeah.
anymore.
Well, Brad, you being there for 20 years, I mean, people don't stick around to bad companies for that long. You know what I mean? People don't leave companies; they leave managers, they leave leaders.
Oh,
Yes,
no
that-
doubt
they
about
brought
it.
that
I
up
mean,
too.
Yeah.
it's not I'm going to quit my job. I hate my
Exactly.
job. It's usually I'm going to quit this because my bosses stink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't feel like I'm a part of it, or I don't feel like I have a voice,
Yeah.
or I'm tired of getting screamed at, or whatever the case may be. But people leave managers. They
Yeah.
don't leave jobs. You know, and that's a fact.
Hey, and I'm kind of fortunate. Like when that whole thing came about, you know, when I was tired of traveling, and all of a sudden somebody reaches out. My comment was, I said, I won't mention I said, so did GAF finally fire? Blah, blah, blah. Oh no, we can't mention. We bring we interview 20, 30 guys, and if I present one candidate, and then they've got their own people internally, and I'm like, I don't think it would be. I don't know if it would work out. I'm like, why? And eventually, I'm like, why would you want to hire me? Because I'm not even in the roofing business. I've been in building materials. Like, because so many of our competitors, you know, they're kind of tainted in the way that things have always been done, and we do it differently. And you know, I was kind of fortunate that then the gentleman that hired me back all those years ago, I remember driving around. They unloaded this wonderful egg-shaped Ford station wagon. I don't know if you remember those. It was like a spaceship. It looked like a big white
Yeah.
egg, and like unloaded it on me. It was loaded up with a bunch of junk and samples and all kinds of stuff. It's all right, have at it. You know, you learn you're going to sink or swim if you don't learn. And there was a bit of training back then. Now our training programs, as you know, I mean,
Yes.
online training and
Yes.
just back then it wasn't as elaborate, and it's
Right.
come a long way. But
really has.
and that person is now, you know, the vice president, the executive vice president of the company. So I've seen him go through all these roles, and you know, so we're fortunate in the Northeast to have a whole group of people that have kind of gone up the ladder into the corporate, and it's nice to have and refreshing to have people that are, boots on the ground and have come all the way up, and
Yeah.
and they're, they'll listen to us. Guess what? If I want to pick up the phone, I just texted him the other day and said, congratulations on the birth of your grandson.
Right.
And he's like, thanks, me, you're just over the top happy.
Yes.
I've had texts on the weekends and things like, hey, how's things going? What's going on with your family?
Yeah.
Right.
And, it means a lot. When
does,
you got some
man.
issues going on in your family.
You know
or
that
things-
person's in their personal time and they're thinking about you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That does mean
Absolutely.
a lot, man.
It does, for sure. It's
I've
definitely-
got, so I'm right now, my son, who's hopefully going to get his Eagle Scout project. I was telling you when I walked in, he's been working on this for a while. Soon be 18 on the weekend, Sunday, and he's got to get it done. And last night he lost everything because there's a problem with the computer. And but he's been wanting, once he gets out of school, he wants to run and grow his landscaping business.
Yeah.
And he's been doing really well. He has a licensed and insured landscaping business with his buddy down the road. And he came to me a couple months ago and said to me, Dad, I'm not going to go to school. And I said, okay, but tell me why. And he explained, well, why would I go to school when I'm going to spend all that time when I can keep growing this business and learn stuff from somebody who's learned it from a book? And I'm learning it in the field. And I said, we had a long conversation. Well, there's the receipts in the garage that have been in there for how long? Those, I told you, those are part taxed. You need to learn things, and some of this you don't learn unless you go to school. Not
Yeah.
to say that you can't learn it eventually. So I've been reaching out to people, and I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you, Ty, and find out, some of the things that, but one of the guys is Kyle Hoffman. You've probably heard. We, have a lot of things with GF, and we work with Kyle. And I reached out to him and asked him. He says, I was one of those guys. I didn't go to school, so maybe you don't want to turn him over to me and talk to me. But he says, but he said, I did learn over these years. I was the guy that was the first 4 or 5 years in business. I was the jerk of the boss and the owner. And I probably, if I took some management skills classes,
Yeah.
I probably would have. He said, I can only imagine where I'd be now if
Yeah.
I had some of these courses.
Right.
And some of the recommendations guys have given me and things like that. But like he
Right.
said, he's learned. But the first 4 or 5 years, he had a lot of people leaving him, and he was he didn't say the jerk. He said, I was the,
Yeah.
jerk, that
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
a boss.
Right.
And I learned. And so you
Right.
learn from your mistakes, and you
Right.
learn by reading,
Right.
and you
Absolutely.
learn by, so he's now thinking maybe maybe go to some business couple, he could do it in the evening,
Yeah.
just learn some things when it comes to management
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So,
Right.
I mean, you've done pretty well. I mean, you think about it, so many people are, they don't need to go, 'cause especially nowadays.
Yeah.
All the HVAC,
Yeah.
there's so many things out there.
We talk about this all the
Oh,
time.
my
man.
gosh.
Oh, and there's
yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah,
I
we
mean, you
talk
really
about
don't
this.
have to go, but if you could learn something along the way early that it took 4 or 5 years for somebody else to learn,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
man.
get a little bit
pick
ahead
your
of the
brain
game.
later. I don't know. I've heard like certain things like Exactimate, and
Yeah.
there's like you need to,
Yeah. AutoCAD.
certain AutoCAD, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of things like that you learn. But
Yeah.
now here I was rambling. I'll let you ramble.
No,
I'll let
well,
you go back.
and you're talking about that. There is a shortage of labor in the younger generation coming up through, and it's been an issue for quite some time. And you don't have to go to school, or you can go to a trade school that's less expensive, more hands-on job placements,
Exactly.
things of that nature, and make a really good living doing it. And we talk about that all the time. We're heavily involved in a program called Workforce Now program
Yeah.
with the YBA, and we wholeheartedly support that. And we do have some younger kids that are coming up through the ranks. I know Taylor. And,
Yeah, shout out to Taylor, man. He's killing it.
Yep, he's killing it. And then the new kid, can't think of his name right this second, which is pretty pathetic, but he's on the gutter crew right now.
Oh, yes. Man.
He just started, so forgive me
I
for not
know.
remembering your name if you're watching right now. But anyhow, he's killing it too. He's not afraid of heights, and we started him out at what I feel is a good entry level position to start out in is in the gutter world. Not that there's not skill to it.
Yeah.
Mason.
Yes,
His name is
name's
Mason.
Mason. I actually
I got
found
you,
out-
Mason.
Yeah, I actually found out who his mom was the other
Yeah.
morning. She said, "Hey, my son works for you."
Huh.
And I was like, "Oh, really? Who's
Yeah.
your son?" And that was a small world. You're welcome. She thanked me. I'm like, "You're welcome." And by the way, I know Colin and Ricky speak very highly of him. So,
Yeah, he's a
but
good
he's
kid,
around
man.
a good group of guys too to get his feet wet in the construction industry. And I don't know if he knew how to read a tape measure or things of that nature, but he's with a good group of guys to teach him. And if he chooses to stay this path, I can see there's a bright future for
Yeah.
him. And if he doesn't choose to stay this course, at least he's learning those skills, that skill set, the read a tape measure, swing a hammer,
Yeah.
use a screw gun, the basic 1, 2, 3s of manhood.
Yeah.
Really, or whatever
Whatever you want to
yeah,
call it.
whatever.
Every tape measure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember one of my neighbors came over. He said, I need to borrow. Do you have any? I'm looking for a bolt. I'm looking for. Well, I mean, what size? Well, I don't know. What's kind of goes. Actually, hold on here. He pulls it out and he goes like, here, it's this. I said, that's not a bolt. That's a nut. Oh yeah. I need one of these. You have another one of these. I need another one. It's like, okay. So he should have learned some man skills too. I should have
Right.
sent him your way, Ty.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and
We
the
do
thing
more
is,
now.
man, it doesn't really matter how old you are.
Yeah.
It's never too late to educate yourself. There's if you think that I'm 40, 50 years old, there's no point in me learning. You're so mistaken.
Exactly.
I
40's
went to
not
college
old.
late.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
50's not old either, bud. Just so you know.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
watch what you
really
say.
not anymore,
Right.
especially with the guys that we have around here, man. They're all young and
Yeah.
young and spunky. But
Yeah.
I went to college late after having an injury. I didn't think that I could do construction anymore, and I actually went back to school and got my accounting degree and ended up here. But
Yep.
even if it's just taking a night
Accounting
course that
degree.
takes you, that
Why isn't
takes
he
you-
running your accounting?
Well, that's what I came here for.
He did for about 2.3 seconds.
But my point is, it's never too late to educate yourself, and the more that you know, not necessarily the more that you're worth as far as a paycheck, but the more you're worth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can apply the skills that you learn to everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with, even if you take a course and it takes you 2 years to complete it,
Yeah.
like do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's nothing. There's no better investment than investing in yourself.
Absolutely.
It's ironic that you say that because, I didn't go to school to end up thinking I'd end up being in sales, right? And
Right.
I could see, other people like my son where I was like, wait a minute, I just saw you sell your motorcycle and you got extra money out of the guy and told him you're going to give it to his helmet because his fiance needs a helmet. And sold that bike versus your friend down the road and yours was less, more expensive, and a lot of people look at sales as, an undesirable or not a very, good profession. And I don't know if you all listen to it. I love Audible because you can drive and listen and
Yes.
listen. But one of the guys that I kind of stumbled across years ago was Brian Tracy. And Brian Tracy, I went to see at the old Spectrum Tony Robbins because the headliner with Tony Robbins was Brian Tracy. They also had Joan London. Tony Robbins, of course, spoke, but he goes, he's making all the money on the books and tapes that he sells.
Yeah.
But I saw Brian Tracy. I've been a big fan of him, and he talks about how, how he stumbled into the profession of sales. And
Yeah.
look at a shiny shoe salesperson, and the Psychology of Selling is one of my favorite books, and he goes over the whole thing about how sales has evolved and why it actually. If you do it the right way and you're not like the typical guy that just doesn't shut up like I'm doing right now, and you're in people's face and you're kind of like, you go into the furniture store. We laughed the other day. I took my wife and my son out to dinner and I said, I just was over there the other day because they just opened. And I'm like looking at the flyers, so 70% off plus 20. And I walk in and the first thing I do is,
Yeah,
the guy
man.
comes right over and he says,
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually did that the other week with Adler because we said as soon as they were all over me too. And I said, what are you guys going to buy? Well,
Right.
nothing. But, so there's different, he talks about that. Stephen Covey's another one that I love, 7 Habits. But you always have to, and with Audible, I can just drive around
Yeah.
and listen to that
Yeah.
stuff, download it, and,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
easy.
I do it all the time.
Furniture sales, man. I had a small stint where I worked at Ashley Furniture, and there was this known thing that people used to do around here, and it was called the Ashley Furniture Challenge, where you come in, it's kind of like the Disney Challenge. You ever heard of the Disney Challenge? You go into the store and you have to go to the back wall and the whole way out and try to do that before somebody talks to you. And it's literally impossible.
Oh, it's impossible. There's
It
no
is
way.
literally
Especially-
impossible.
I think this was a division of Ashley that was in their old, and they're exact same furniture now. It's a new place, but it's
okay.
the exact same thing as Ashley. They
Yeah.
get some pretty good deals. They got some stuff in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
man, you're exactly right. There's no way. I don't even. It's not possible unless it's you walk in and then you go all the way around.
Yeah,
and
you
then
got to
somebody
run,
else will get it.
hide behind stuff. Like you're gonna have to
Yeah.
do something because they are on you, man. When you walk into most stores like that, you'll notice there's usually a box when you first walk in where the floor is different, and that's like the no touch zone. As soon as you walk off that tile, you're fair game.
Yeah.
And it's like there's someone waiting for you, man. It doesn't matter which direction you go, there's someone there waiting for you.
Yeah.
So
Well, I love that some of these there's a local store near us, and it's a furniture place, and it's old. I forget, it's an old guy. His name is Bob, because we stopped in once. We were looking to buy a mattress, and I said, "Yeah, we should go in there because he's always got." And we walked in, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is your third retirement sale." He goes, "Oh no, I'm finally retired now." His whole thing was he'd always put out the banners, and it's like, "Happy birthday sale," or "Going out of business sale," or "Retirement nonstop." But we even, he chuckled because we said,
Right.
How
You ain't
many
going
times
nowhere.
are you going to retire? No, I'm finally or officially retiring. The place is still open. That was 3
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, what do they need that hook for?
Right.
Just have a
Right.
great,
just
good
say, hey guys,
quality
I got a great
product.
sale right now.
Yeah, good to sell a good quality product and at a decent price and service the heck out of it. And,
Right.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
I have to do that with my son and my wife. And
Go
there.
for it,
My
man.
daughter's up at school, so she wouldn't be able to participate. We'll go there again and see who gets jumped on first.
Yeah. If you can make it to the back wall and back out without someone talking to you, I'll buy you lunch.
I don't know.
That would be tough.
It ain't happening.
Yeah, that
You're
would be
right, it
tough.
is.
Confident, man. It's not
I
happening.
like going to Ashley Furniture.
Yeah.
they get some
we,
nice
we,
stuff.
We do most
Yeah.
of our shopping there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it there a lot.
But-
They negotiate too.
But real quick here, we got about 5 minutes or so left in
Oh,
the
boy.
show. This
Holy
show
mackerel.
flew by, man.
No doubt.
did.
We didn't even talk about roofing hardly
I
at
know,
all.
I
Yeah,
know
we
hardly
did.
at all. That's usually what ends up happening.
Well,
man.
that's
We
good.
get
So
talking.
then you can come back.
Yeah, well, I wanted the 24th of November, but I'm sure we got that already booked.
Do we? Is that?
I don't think we have any guests on that day. No.
Do you want to come down?
Well,
You're
I'll come
more-
down. I'm planning to come down, but you're going
Okay.
to do the whole thing live. That'll be your show there at the Turkey.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna
right.
have something set up there.
Yeah, we'll go
be there all
live
day.
at some point in time throughout the course of it. We're planning to be there from 1 to 6, so we may end up going live at like 5
Yeah.
instead of waiting till 7. So we should probably think about that so we're not cleaned up and
Yeah.
ready to go home and then doing the show at 7. So
Mm-hmm.
we should think about doing an earlier 3 o'clock or something
Yeah.
after the turkeys.
A couple times during the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll make it the 100th episode.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. But you're more than welcome to, because I don't
Yeah,
think
absolutely, man.
we didn't have anyone lined up, did we?
No.
Well, that's actually my wife. I would love to do it and may still do it because I haven't put the plans together yet, but my wife's boss that she's working for is actually going to visit his son in Germany. So she actually has off. I think it's like that Friday, that weekend, and then the whole week. So that might be the time when we're going to try to get away with.
Gotcha.
We usually do something with the kids every Thanksgiving, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Right.
and then of course hunting day Monday.
Yes.
Something different, like go to Niagara Falls, or one year we
Awesome.
went to Johnstown, Pennsylvania. How exciting is that? But that came about because we wanted to go
so
do
random.
something that's unique and different,
Yeah,
educate
right,
them.
right.
And we came up in conversation with my daughter and one of her friends sitting on the couch about how horrible it was and how many people died in the World Trade Towers. And I said, yeah, it's almost like as many as died in the Johnstown flood. They're like, what? What do you? I said, you guys know about the Johnstown flood, don't you? They're like, no. I said, I know what
Guess
we're going
where
to do
we're
after
going.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We're going to go
Right.
to
That's
the
where
boring
we're going.
Johnstown flood tour.
That's awesome.
Actually, they loved it because we went out fishing with a roofer out that way on Lake Raystown below the dam.
Mm-hmm.
Got up real early, 2 a.m. We're out there, caught a couple muskie, and so went out fishing and stayed at a good friend of ours, another distributor guy, has got a cabin, stayed there, and drove back and forth. It wasn't too far away, but
Yeah.
we actually
Yeah,
made
you
an
guys pulled
event
some
out of
hogs
it.
out of the water there,
Awesome.
man.
Oh, yeah.
I seen the Facebook pictures on your Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
You guys pulled
Man.
some hogs out.
That's some of those are up in Pulaski.
Yeah.
It's the time of the year to be up there right now.
Yes, sir.
Man,
Yes,
there's
sir.
too much going on to be able.
But
to
Vic,
do
if
that.
you want to real quick throw that flyer up here on the screen for the guys and gals watching. As you guys know, we got the 21 Turkey Salute coming up, and I actually have some.
You're always back.
Sorry about that, guys. Technical delay there. We just flashed the flyer up on there. I have details for the contest that we're going to be having. If you guys can name this turkey and we pick your name, I believe we're going to be running the contest until the end of October. Once the end of October hits, we're going to take maybe the top 5 or something like that names that we decide amongst all the TC Backer employees, and we're going to put a poll up. and that is going to run until the 100th episode. At that time, we will announce the winner, and the winner of that, whoever names the turkey, is going to receive a $500 gift certificate for TC Backer Construction for a future project.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys submit your ideas. You can make a submission on any of our show posts. You can send it into a message to TC Backer, to myself, to Vic, to Ty. Any of the TC Backer employees, you can shoot them a message with your idea, the names.
Yeah.
By when?
and
You
we'll
said
get
by the
that
end of
stuff.
October?
By
Yep,
the end,
by
of,
the end of
October.
October.
Yeah, we're trying to come up with a name for the turkey. I suggested Jighead, but I don't think it got any traction. Only by who's going to be dressing up as the turkey.
Oh, yeah.
I want to name it Glenn, but
Right.
Boy, after seeing what the heck he was wearing around the office.
oh
Yeah,
boy.
Yeah. So I got to fish with him over the weekend. His nickname became Jighead. Yeah. So,
Better than what
but
it could be, something else.
yes, it could definitely be something different. That's for damn sure. But yeah, that $500 coupon basically for any project that's over $2,500. Certain restrictions will apply, and I'm thinking obviously it wouldn't be fair if like one of our coworkers, won that.
It's not
So
going to be any
Right.
coworkers or family members or anything like that.
right. So we're hoping those of you who watch our show each week, or a friend or a family member that might need a project done to their home. Roofing, windows, siding, gutters, whatever. Go ahead and put the name of your choice in the comments, or reach out to us at through our website, or give us a call at the office. There's multiple ways to get a hold of us, so
Yeah,
by all
absolutely.
means, reach out. We're looking for a name for the turkey. So
Yep. And as you guys all know, because I think we're drilling this in your head the past couple weeks there, November 24th from 1 to 6 is when the 21 Turkey Salute will be going down. It's going to be at 24 South Penn Street.
Yep.
This is an absolutely free event. Come down, get some food, bring some family. Just come hang out with us. It's going to be a great day.
Will be.
If anyone wants to sign up to help or anything like that, I can't guarantee that we're going to get you in, just because we have so many people with the TC Backer family
Yeah.
that are going to be helping out. But you never know. If you're interested in helping or want to
Yeah.
contribute at all, just let us know.
The turnout that we're going to have, I don't think we could actually have enough help. So anyone that wants to, come down, give us a hand, serving food. We're deep frying 22 turkeys at the same time, and then we're going to do 22 more, and then after that we'll do about 18. So about 20, or I'm sorry, 60.
Yeah,
60 turkeys
We're going to
total.
do 60 total.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of. My math may have been off there a little bit, but it'll end up being as many as we can get done, as quick as we can get them done, in a timely manner. That way we can, serve food and keep everybody,
Yeah.
happy and healthy and,
Yeah, it's
all
gonna
that
be
good
great.
stuff.
So I guess with that said, I guess we can wrap this up here. Brad, thank you very much for coming
No, I
down here and
appreciate it.
helping
I'm
Yeah,
on.
glad
man.
we could do it this time and actually have it work out.
Sorry
not
we
be in
didn't
the
get really
dark.
to even talk about roofing too much. We talked
Yeah.
a little bit about the shingles, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I got all these props over here, and I didn't need.
Yeah.
I brought a jock strap for Glenn.
There you go.
That's my mask. We, of course, for social distancing.
he would
and-
wear
Yes.
it, man. He would wear it.
He would.
Actually, I was mentioning you guys. I've known Glenn's dad for way
Yes.
back when I started.
No, really?
Yeah.
Small world, man. Small world.
Small world. It's
You
funny
seem
how
to know
often-
everybody.
I was out. A guy was having his 50th birthday party at a place, Flinchley's in Camp Hill, and they're like, "Oh, you got to come over and show up." So I was like, "We're doing yard work, and Jen's, I'll pop in for like half hour." And pop in and was talking, and the guy's like, next thing you know, the guy's like, "Oh, my son worked for a guy that sells GAF." He's no longer like, "Oh yeah, I know, hell yeah, I know Chad."
Yeah.
And then the lady behind us is like, "Oh, She goes, my brother works at your plant in Baltimore." I'm like, "Really? What's his name?" She's like, "Oh yeah." She texts him and like, you guys right here. I mean, the grit mill, which makes all the granules for most of the business, other competitors too, is right over. It isn't too far from here. You
Yeah.
probably know people that haul for
Yes.
it used
DL
to be
George.
ISP, it's now SGI or whatever it is now.
Yeah, DL George hauls for them, and a lot of people I grew up with work there
Yeah.
for both companies. The companies that haul the
Exactly.
grit and
Yeah.
people who worked at the grit mill.
Yeah.
Now you want to talk about it because you guys have been through. You haven't been yet through plant tour and the shingles.
No,
Once we get that
no,
all
I
opened
want
up
to
again
so bad,
eventually
man.
because of
I've
COVID.
never done it either.
What?
Not
oh
one.
my gosh!
Not one
I can't
time.
keep track of. See, that would be my thing. The plant manager would drive him crazy because I'd be in usually every Tuesday and Thursday, and I'd do a morning and an afternoon.
Yeah.
And then they only made it. Sometimes we do 4 or 5 in a week, but then they got whoa. You can only do these because I'm like January,
Settle down,
February,
Brad.
maybe early March. And then they said only Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I was doing the morning, and then I forget how many people we've had. That's one of the best ways to
Yeah.
show. And I've actually been very fortunate to tour the quarry myself once, and then I had another distributor that toured it. And you talk about a production operation that runs nonstop.
Yeah, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
24 hours.
It's all lit up.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
no
and how
city.
crystal. I mean, they're a great community, industry. Just
Yeah.
like their plants, like in the old Elk plant, GF plant there in Myerstown.
Yeah.
I mean, the neighbors. People love to complain about businesses with lots of trucks. They love our plants and the
Awesome.
quarry. I mean, they're blasting all the time, but they keep it down to a minimum. And the neighbors love them. I mean,
Yeah.
so because they're very community oriented, very
Yes.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but-
Good
it's good
All
stuff,
good
man.
stuff, man.
But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have not already, hop over to GAF, give them a like. If you have not liked our page yet, shame on you. Hop in there and like it.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys hop onto our YouTube channel, subscribe to that. TikTok, subscribe to that, please.
Yep.
That's all fresh and new, so don't bear with us on the content on the YouTube page because we can only upload so many videos a day, and we have a ton of videos to upload. So we're working slowly on that. Eventually hoping to start to do live shows from YouTube. So everyone have a good rest of your week. We'll see everyone next week, and make sure that you guys tell all your friends about next week. We got a banger next week.
Yeah, we do.
We got a gentleman by the name of Deshaun Bryant coming on. He is one of the premier roofing sales guys in the industry.
Yep.
He goes around the country and coaches sales teams, and just a great guy. So any of you salespeople out there, anyone in the industry, or anyone that just wants to see somebody that knows what the heck they're talking about, make sure you guys tune in next week because it's going to be special. So everyone have a good rest of your week, and we will see you guys for episode 95 next week at 7 p.m.
Yes, sir.